A glass of salt water and two strips of metal can light a small lamp with no battery bought from any shop, no wire from any pole, no power company anywhere in it. I am going to show you exactly how, and I am going to show you a second method as well, completely different, that lights a whole room in the daytime with nothing but a plastic bottle of water in your roof. Both are real, both work, both have been used by people who had no electricity and needed light anyway. What I am giving you is real and it is useful, and it is better than a fairy tale, a way to make light from cheap, common things when you have no power, in an emergency, off the grid, in a power cut, on a dark night far from any wire. That is worth a great deal. It is just not magic, and I respect you too much to sell it to you as magic. My people are the Samburu, in the dry north of Kenya, where for most of my life, there was no electric wire reaching the homestead at all. So I know what it is to need light and have no switch on the wall to give it. But the science under these two methods is true and good. And in a world where the power can fail and the bill always comes, knowing how to pull light out of salt and water and sunlight is knowledge worth having in your hands. So let me give it to you honestly, both methods, with what they really do and where they really stop. The first method is the saltwater battery. And the first thing to understand is that word, battery, because that is what it is, not free energy, a battery. And once you understand what a battery actually is, you will understand why this works and why it does not last forever. And you will never be fooled by the free energy lie again. Here is the truth of every battery that has ever existed, from the one in your phone to the one I am about to show you. A battery makes electricity from a slow chemical reaction between two different metals sitting in a liquid that can carry charge. The electricity does not come from nothing. It comes from one of the metals slowly being eaten away, dissolved, consumed by the reaction. That metal is the fuel. When it is used up, the battery is dead, the same way a fire dies when the wood is gone. So in the thing I am about to show you, the salt water is not the fuel and not the source of the power. The salt water is only the liquid that lets the charge move. The real fuel is one of the metals, and it slowly disappears as the lamp burns, and when it is gone, you replace it. That is not a flaw I am hiding from you. That is simply what a battery is. Anyone who tells you otherwise does not understand it or does not want you to. Now here is how you build it. You need three things: salt water and two different metals. The salt water is simple. Clean water with a good few spoons of salt stirred in until it dissolves. Seawater works on its own. The two metals must be different from each other, because the whole reaction depends on two metals of different strength fighting over electrons, and if both pieces are the same metal there is no fight and no electricity. The best pairing, the one that gives the most power, is a strip of magnesium against a strip or rod of copper. Magnesium is the strong, eager metal that gives up its electrons readily. It is the fuel that will be eaten, and copper is the partner that receives them. If you cannot find magnesium, zinc works too, a little weaker. A galvanized nail or strip is zinc, and the casing of an old dry battery is zinc. And the copper can be a copper pipe, a thick copper wire, a copper strip, even copper coins. Magnesium and copper for the strongest light, zinc and copper for the light you can build from scrap in any house. You take a cup or a jar, fill it with the salt water, and stand the two different metals in it, one on each side, making sure they do not touch each other under the water. If they touch, you short it out and get nothing. Then you connect a wire from each metal to the two legs of a small LED. And it must be an LED, one of those tiny, efficient lights, because an LED sips so little power that this small battery can light it, where an old-fashioned bulb would demand far more than the cup can give. The LED has a long leg and a short leg, and it only works one way around. The long leg goes to the copper, the short leg to the magnesium. If it does not light, swap the two wires. You simply had it backwards. And there it is, a small steady light pulled out of salt water and two pieces of metal, with no shop-bought battery and no wire from any pole. Now the honest limits, because they matter and the sellers never say them. One cup like this gives only about a single volt. A small thing, enough to make one small LED glow. Not enough to light a room or charge a phone or run anything real. But you raise it the way the old experimenters did. You make several cups and you connect them in a chain. The copper of one cup wired to the magnesium of the next, down the line. Each cup adds its push to the last, and 4 or 5 cups in a chain give enough to light an LED brightly, even a few LEDs. Build a row of cups and you have a small lamp. That is the honest scale of it. This is a small emergency light, a single bright point in a dark room in a power cut, a thing to find your way by, not a lamp to light your house all evening. And the magnesium slowly dissolves as it burns. Over hours and days, it is eaten away, the salt water grows tired and must be refreshed. And in the end, the magnesium strip is gone and must be replaced. The metal is the fuel. That is the real cost, small as it is. Refresh the water, replace the metal when it is spent, and it lights again. A few honest tips so it actually works the first time. Because most people who fail on small things. Make sure the bare metal, not the painted or coated part, is in the water. A coating blocks the reaction. Scrape any dullness or grease off the metal first. Clean bright metal works far better than tarnished. Keep the two metals close but never touching. Use plenty of salt. Weak salt water gives a weak, flickering light. And know that the limiting partner is the copper side, which needs air reaching it to keep the reaction going, so a wide cup with the copper near the surface beats a deep, narrow one. If your light is faint, more salt, cleaner metal, and a fresh cup will lift it. These are not secrets, just the difference between a glow and nothing. Use for what it truly is, it is a fine thing. When the power dies in a storm and the board batteries are all flat, a few jars of salt water and some scrap metal and a handful of LEDs will give you light when nothing else in the house will. For a camp far from any wire, for a shelf kept against the emergency, for a child to learn from with their own hands how electricity is truly made, it is real, it is cheap, and it works. Just know it for a small emergency lamp and a true teacher, not a free power station, and it will never disappoint you. Now the second method, and this one is completely different. No battery, no metal, no chemistry at all. And in its own way, it is more powerful than the first because it can light a whole dark room. But it has one strict limit I will give you first so you are not misled. It only works in the daytime because its power is the sun. It makes no light of its own. What it does is take the sunlight that is already outside and pour it into a room that the sun cannot otherwise reach. And for the millions of people who live in rooms with no window, in dense housing where daylight never gets in, who must burn a lamp or a bulb even at noon just to see. This is a genuine wonder, and it costs almost nothing. Here is the thing it solves. Think of a small room under a metal roof with no window, the inner room, the room behind the room, the shack with one door. At noon, blazing sun outside, it is dark as night inside, and the family must light a lamp or pay for an electric bulb in the middle of the day. The trick turns that around using nothing but a clear plastic bottle full of water set into the roof. You take a clear plastic bottle, the ordinary kind, and fill it with clean water. And into that water, you put a small amount of bleach. Just a capful or two. The bleach is important, and I will tell you why honestly. It is not for light. It is to stop algae and green scum growing in the water, which would cloud it and kill the effect. The bleach keeps the water clear for years. Then you cut a hole in the roof and fix the bottle into it, sealed tight against rain, so that the top half of the bottle stands up out of the roof in the open sky and the bottom half hangs down into the room below. And here is what happens. And it is real physics, not a trick. The sunlight strikes the top of the bottle and passes into the water, and the water bends and scatters that light in every direction, out through the bottom half of the bottle and into the whole room beneath, spreading it across the entire space, not a narrow beam, but a soft light filling the room. It does not just let a shaft of sun through a hole. The water spreads the light outward to every corner. And measured properly, the light it throws into the room is about the same as a normal electric bulb of the household kind, bright enough to live and work by. A bottle of water, refracting and scattering the sun, lighting a room as well as a bulb would, during all the daylight hours, for no power and no bill at all. This is no village tale. It began with a Brazilian man who needed light in a power cut, spread to hundreds of thousands of homes across the poor world, and has been studied and measured and confirmed. A clear bottle, water, a little bleach, a hole in the roof. The honest limits again, plainly. It is daylight only. When the sun goes down, it goes dark, and it gives nothing at night. It is a window made of a bottle, not a lamp. It needs a roof you can cut a hole in, and the sky above it, so it suits the small house, the shed, the workshop, the windowless inner room, far more than an upstairs flat with rooms above. The bottle and water must be refreshed every few years as the plastic ages and the water finally clouds. And it makes no electricity. It will not charge or run anything. It only gives light. But for what it is, free daylight carried into a dark room through all the daytime hours, for the cost of a bottle and a capful of bleach, there is almost nothing that gives so much for so little. And there is an honest way to make that same bottle work at night too. Though now you have crossed back into needing a little real power. So I name it plainly for what it is. The people who spread this bottle light across the poor world did exactly this for the night. Into the cap of the same water bottle, they fixed a single tiny LED and a small circuit fed by a small solar panel on the roof that charges a small battery through the day. By day, the water spreads the sunlight as before. By night, the little LED inside the bottle lights and the water spreads its glow the same way it spread the sun. That is no longer free. There is a panel and a small battery in it. Real things that cost a little and wear out. But it is still cheap, still off the grid, still owing no power company, and it turns a daytime water window into a lamp that also serves the night. I tell you of it because it is the true and useful next step, not because it is magic. The panel and battery are the honest price of light after dark. So you have two true things now, and see how they fit together honestly. The bottle in the roof lights your dark room all through the day, for nothing, from the sun. The saltwater battery gives you a small emergency light at night, from cheap metal and salt, when the power has failed. One is daylight, one is a little night light. One is sunlight bent through water, one is a chemical battery slowly burning metal. Neither is free energy. Both are real, and between them they are genuine independence from the dark, in the day and at need in the night, owing no one. Let me say the part that is bigger than a bottle and a jar. The honest version asks nothing of you, and earns no one a coin, a bottle from the rubbish, a capful of bleach, some scrap metal, a few cheap LEDs set up once. There is no monthly bill in it, nothing to sell you again. So the people who would profit dress it up as magic, free energy, free power forever, because a wild promise spreads and sells and gathers clicks, while a modest truth sits quiet. And the modest truth is the more valuable thing, because the modest truth actually works and the magic never does. A man who knows the real, limited, honest version can light his dark room and meet a power cut with his own hands. A man chasing the free energy fairy tale buys disappointment and learns nothing. The lie is loud because the lie sells. The truth is quiet because no one can put a price on a bottle of water in a roof. A person who understands that light can be pulled from the sun through a bottle of water by day, and from salt and metal in a jar at need by night, and who understands exactly what each one can and cannot do, is harder to frighten in a blackout, harder to sell a fairy tale to, and a little more free. That is the whole of it. My people lived without the wire for generations, and learned to meet the dark on their own terms, and that habit, of taking the honest, working thing over the magic promise, is worth more than any miracle anyone tries to sell you. So here is what to do. If you want a daytime light for a dark windowless room, a shed, a workshop, take a clear bottle, fill it with clean water and a capful of bleach. Seal it into a hole in the roof with the top half in the sky and the bottom half in the room. And let the sun light your room for free through every daylight hour. If you want an emergency night light against the power cut, keep some magnesium or zinc strips, some copper, a few LEDs, and a bag of salt on a shelf, and when the dark comes and the bought batteries are flat, stand the metals in jars of salt water, chain a few jars together, and pull a small steady light out of nothing but salt and metal. But hold the honest truth at the center of both. This is not free energy, it is a water window to the sun and a small battery that burns cheap metal. And knowing exactly what they are is what lets them serve you instead of disappoint you. Then tell me below, where do you live? Do the lights fail often where you are? And is there a dark room in your home the daytime never reaches? Tell me, because that is the room the bottle was made for. I read everyone. Until then, take the honest working thing over the magic promise every time. Light your day from the sun through a bottle and your worst nights from salt and metal. And remember that real independence is never the loud miracle on the screen. It is the quiet, true, simple thing that actually works.